Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show, your twice-weekly pop culture podcast where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. As always, this is a spoiler show, so you have been warned. We had different plans today. The three of us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're sitting cross-legged on the couch, popcorn ready to go, everything. Turned on HBO Max to watch Godzilla vs. Kong, and it was not there.
It comes out tomorrow.
Kristen was very upset. You were like, because we were trying to come up with something else to watch, and you had a kaiju-shaped hole in your...
You know what? We should have just watched Pacific Rim. We should have finally watched Pacific Rim.
Oh, take that, Jessica Walter.
Time. No, but I literally was like, that's why I wanted to watch giant monsters fight with each other. That I was been anticipating it all week. I was promised it. I swear to God, the release date was the 26th, and no, the 31st.
I mean, they're shifting stuff around left and right. They just moved the In the Heights premiere up a week.
And they moved Dune from December to October. So yeah, I mean, I get it, but I'm annoyed. So
that did bring us to we had an episode that we needed to fill. And I had commented on, was it Friday?
Thursday or Friday?
Thursday, that we lost the great Jessica Walter.
Icon.
At 80. All I've heard so far is peacefully in her sleep.
It just said natural causes or like old age or whatever, so. God bless. That's the way we all want to go.
Yes. But I thought, you know what? I was like, we could probably talk about her a little bit, talk about her legacy.
Yeah, for sure.
And we ended up watching one of her, it was like kind of a bit of a breakthrough. I think she was nominated.
Oh, was she?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. I want to make it clear. We love Jessica Walter, but we really, really love Lucille Bluth and Mallory Archer. And that's sort of the end of our like real experience with her.
Well, sure. I mean, we know her. So that's why we went back to watch this movie. The movie is Play Misty For Me. And I was aware of it. My mom, I guess it's one of the ones she saw. She would have, I think, been like 19 when it came out. So I think it was probably one of those kind of when you're young and you go to see the thrillers or the horror movies or whatever. And well, actually, we'll get into it in a minute. But I was devastated.
Yeah,
it hit me. We didn't know that her health and as I said, we still don't really know what the issue was, but we had no reason to be expecting it. And she was 80,
an elderly woman,
but she also I said a similar thing when Joan Rivers died, where I was like, she just wasn't done yet.
She didn't feel finished.
Yeah, it wasn't kind of like, because by no means am I wishing this or putting this out, and this isn't a challenge or a dare to the universe. But it's like, you know, someone like Betty White, it's like, she's we haven't heard from her in a while.
Yeah.
It's like, she really had this, like, I mean, she had like a 10-year curtain call.
Yeah.
Like that's, you know, and so if we were to get news, I mean, I'm hoping for another year, I think a solid 100, but.
100 would be so sweet for Betty White.
If we were to get news sometime soon, I would sort of be anticipating it.
Sure.
But I just was not there for Jessica Walter. And I think the other interesting thing about her is I think she was a consummate professional by all accounts, 50-year career, predominantly in television, but also film. But I think it's fascinating that her career really took off late in her life.
In like the mid 2000s.
Like 2003 with Arrested Development, because we watched an interview with her with Seth Meyers where she said that for a long time she couldn't get a sitcom.
Yeah, which is crazy.
I guess she was mostly dramatic, like she was doing more typical serious work.
I get that, but it's like, could you even imagine what the TV landscape might look like if someone had given her a shot and she had been a sitcom actress forever?
I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
And maybe she wasn't there yet or ready yet.
Maybe.
I hate when like something happens and people really I'm not pandering.
Sure.
That's a good word. I'm not pandering to say that she, I think, was one of the grand dames of the aughts. I mean, I think that her performance as Lucille Bluth and to a lesser extent Mallory Archer, I think it has actually shaped culture.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I was like, kids are gonna know her memes, and not know.
I mean, some of
Lucille Bluth, Jessica Walter, or even Arrested Development, but they're gonna know the jokes.
Some of the Lucille, some of all of Arrested Development, but some of the Lucille stuff is just in our vernacular now. Like, we just say it.
So I made a list. And if we want to go, so I'm watching special straight to number one. My number one is I don't understand the question and I refuse to respond.
Plate or platter?
I don't understand the question, and I won't respond to it.
That's a really good one.
The plate or platter. And I think one of the reasons why that's so funny to me is because I do understand the question. Yeah. A platter usually includes coleslaw and a larger side of a second side or a larger portion of fries.
Yeah, sure.
Possibly in a basket.
Yeah, a basket of fries. That could work. I am actually very partial to the look what the homosexuals have done to me, and but specifically the way she says it just makes me want to set myself on fire.
Everything I do is so dramatic and flamboyant. It just makes me want to set myself on fire.
So we saw that clip. We were doing some research before this, and we happened to see that clip no fewer than 3 times.
Yeah.
And every single time I resisted the urge to be like, it's so you.
Oh, that makes me want to set myself on fire, yeah.
Whilst complaining about someone else being dramatic.
What can I say?
I assumed it was me because my one regret in life is that I will never be a drunk, wealthy old woman.
I mean...
The jury's still out. There's still time. But no, Claire Mead, Lucille Bluth, I cannot remember her name, but Rebecca Wasaki from Devious Maids.
Oh, God, yeah.
I love it.
She was great.
And so I kind of just assumed that my love for Lucille was based on my personality.
No.
And apparently she's like regarded as like in the top 3 best characters on the show.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
She has
if we're being honest, it's her and it's Liza Minnelli and it's Judy Greer are like the best characters on the show.
Lucille's, but one of the things that I was really sort of getting from the footage we were watching is that so much of the humor in Arrested Development is based around the implication.
Oh, yeah, a lot of it. Yeah.
There's a lot of reading between the lines, and I think that it's a very... I'm fascinated by comedy and styles of comedy, and I'm fascinated by how something like comedy can be, or even art for that matter, can be generational. And I think it was slightly ahead of its time when it came out, but I think it really was a style of comedy that was defining a generation. And there's just the in the pilot episode, there's the joke about how I love all my children equally.
Yeah. I don't care for Job.
And
I don't care for Job.
We cut to that, and that alone is fine. That alone is such a good, solid joke in and of itself. But the implication again is that, first of all, it was earlier that day.
Yeah.
It wasn't like 5 months ago.
No, it's earlier that day. She's lunching with Buster, and it does not appear that they were already having a conversation.
It was apropos of nothing.
It popped in her head, and she said it to her youngest child.
Buster is startled by.
Yeah, he's like...
And so there's a lot of that in Arrested Development. And
it's also, I do love the... I'd really like to cry, but I don't think I can spare the moisture.
Oh, Michael, honey. I want to cry so bad, but I don't think I can spare the moisture.
Well, listen, here's...
It's just...
And she did it. She did it with such grace and elegance and dignity.
Yeah.
There are some lines in here that are hard to pull off with dignity.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I don't think I can spare the moisture. That's hard to pull off with dignity.
Well, and even to the C word, because you also have to imagine, you have to remember, because they're talking about the boat, and it's spelled Seaward, and they're arguing over who's going to get the boat. And Michael
and Job.
Yeah. Michael was like, get rid of the C word. And she just goes, I'll leave when I'm good and ready.
Get rid of the C word.
I'll leave when I'm good and ready.
And you have to consider that, because of course the joke there is cunt.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that cunt is slightly more in our language now.
It is more, now, yeah.
I think maybe because it's very casual in England and some of Europe and stuff. And so I think there's been more bleed over with like streaming and all that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But that is a joke. That is a solid and risque joke in 2004 that could also very easily be completely missed.
Oh yeah. It's definitely one of those things where it's like sort of a joke in a movie when you're younger that goes over your head, and then you rewatch the movie as an adult and you're like, oh my.
Because that was one of the issues I was having with Arrested Development watching it the first time. Is I could tell that there were jokes based on the editing and the way things were punctuated, but I was just a half a bubble off plot. Like,
sure,
I was kind of like, I recognized I was supposed to be laughing, but I wasn't entirely sure what it was at. And it took me a long time to fully get there.
I was pretty in immediately because I was catching enough of the jokes that I was like, oh, this show's really funny. But it was like, for a while there, I mean, I had to have watched this show 10 times, the first 3 seasons 10 times. And it just is funnier every time.
It absolutely. Yeah. So I did write down a couple more. One of my favorites, it's from season 4. I'm one of the few people who really like season 4. It benefits from rewatches, which I think that's where a lot of people kind of did. They watched it once expecting it to be exactly like, and especially after having the first 3 seasons, like so many people binged the first 3 seasons and then had to just sort of keep watching them over and over for 10 years. But I really love the bit where Tobias has the vanity plate, a new start, and it reads like anus tart.
Yeah.
And my favorite is Lucille because she's in the room and he comes in and she just goes, "Hello, anus tart."
"Hello, anus tart."
And she never even saw the license plate.
And Ron Howard just goes, "And she didn't even see the vanity plate."
That's right.
So again, the implication there.
Yeah,
and
so
it's just,
good.
The characters were so lived in. And again, back to her performance, I think maybe her career as a dramatic and just straightforward, solid actress, she's delivering so much of this stuff. And they give her some brutal.
Yeah, she's delivering it very seriously, but then it's like after Buster loses his hand, and she's like, the doctor, the Sparky Pilastri from Bring It On, the doctor is like, he's going to be all right. And they're like, "Oh, thank God." And he's like, "Well, he's lost his left hand, so he's going to be all right." And she just, with her whole chest, is like,
"You son of a bitch! I hate this doctor!"
He's a very literal man.
Yes. Come here. That's more the way I would take the noose.
"You son of a bitch!" And she's throwing her purse and like going. It's like, it's so good. It's like she gets into Lucille in a more physical way than you expect her to. Also, it's a more physical performance than you would imagine.
My actual favorite, because I was about to say my favorite was the drowsy eye alcohol warning. She mistakes it for a
winking eye alcohol suggestion.
Well, because Lucille likes to wink.
Yeah.
I can do it. Apparently not everyone can. No, but you had to try. I can just.
Yeah. This is such riveting.
Here you go.
I wonder how I can talk you out of ever making that face again.
Yeah.
Anita.
I can do it better with my right eye.
Yeah, you're squinting though. Mama's coming out. Mama's coming. She's just dead. Also, her chicken is the a-coodle-doodle-doo.
Yeah.
A-coodle-doodle-doo. Her chicken's really good, but I think my favorite.
Cha-chi-cha.
I think my favorite is in season 3. I think it's 3. It's later with An Young, and we have the we have the whole An Young bit. It's going, and they keep saying his name, which the joke is that in Korean An Young means hello, but they think that's his name, so they keep saying An Young, and every time they say it, he says hello back. And so they're in a cover. I think it's Job again. It could be Michael. I don't remember. But they're talking about him, and every time they say his name 3 times, every time he An Young, and they're like the An Young, An Young. And by the 3rd time he does it, she turns and looks at him. It's a look that could strip paint.
It's like it's a 10-second long shot too. It has to be, which is an eternity in a sitcom.
I'm going to An Young's soccer award ceremony. And
Oh, no.
And she just is gritting her teeth, and it just like you could feel the way, because it's more than just the 3 times in that scene.
Yeah,
it's like you can feel the build from.
We've had it for like over a season at that point.
Yeah, I think that they're gonna know that An Young's not. Would somebody please tell this insufferable child? God.
That's most of them. I have the Star War. I mean, that's a classic. The Good for Her. That one's a newer one. That one is
came up relatively recently.
I think it's from season 4.
No, it's not.
It's not? Okay.
It's from the original run because she's like, Lucille's watching the news, eating a cupcake, and she sees something on the news about a woman who like drove into a lake with her children in the car. And she just goes, good for her. And Buster's sitting there like, again, he's like, oh God.
It's very relatable for a lot of modern day.
Yeah.
Like I said, like the meme is watching Good Girl or Gone Girl.
Yeah.
And just being like, good for her.
Gone Girl, Promising Young Woman. Kind of all of them, yeah.
So that is our shorter kind of condensed tribute to Lucille Bluth.
Yeah.
I don't have as much for Mallory Archer.
I've watched Archer far fewer times, but boy, does she get some doozies in that too.
It's Lucille Bluth on like steroids.
Yeah.
Like it is unhinged.
Yeah.
And she says something. I mean, I know that like older people aren't like a different species, but we're just sort of ingrained to treat older people as more like
proper,
precious.
Yeah, like a grandma.
And the material, she tackles
So
it like
good.
a well done steak.
No, it's so good. And especially like her interactions with Archer, with her son Archer, and like all the stuff with Carol Cheryl and
they're
Pam.
because at that point Judy Greer is an old friend.
Oh my God,
and
yeah, it's
like
so
I
good.
mean Aisha Tyler, that's part of her whole shtick. It's like I feel like to meet Aisha is to know her.
Her stuff with Lana is really good. I like always remember the kind of one of my favorite early episodes is the one on the blimp, the rigid airship, and she got her friend Trudy Beekman bumped so that she could have the like blah blah blah. It's just like the whole thing is so. And Trudy Beekman is an extended. She's like the Lucille Bluth, except we never or the Lucille too, but we never meet her on Archer.
She had a particular talent for making truly despicable material charming.
Yeah,
like she can be hateful. Mm-hmm. She can be racist.
Immigrants. That's how they do, just drive around listening to raps and shooting all the jobs.
Yeah.
She can be like class, like just go into some really just like grungy places.
Yeah.
And it's shocking, but you're also kind of like,
oh, Lucille. Yeah.
So.
Oh God, sorry, real quick. Apparently on the 90210 reboot, she was like the theater teacher and they were doing Spring Awakening.
Okay, because I sat down to watch 90210. I had the note down, and then I was like, well, we moved past that.
Oh, okay.
I sat down to watch 90210 solely because she was on it.
Yeah.
And by that point, I guess, for whatever reason, they had written her off the show.
Oh.
And I literally was like...
well, never mind.
And I just didn't. I just literally made it 20 minutes into one episode, and I was like, oh, I'm just not doing this.
Yeah, that's fair. I think
I'm going to stick around for Ashley Simpson?
No.
It's not 2005.
It was barely sticking around for her then.
That one album.
No, it's
the
fine.
second one was actually pretty, or the third one was pretty good. I don't remember. So so like I said, obviously being aware that she had a career, beyond this, I kind of wanted to visit something, and I feel like now was as good a time as any.
Because there was a lot of TV shows, and like we would have had
a lot of like The Love Boat, a lot of like
she had a lot of like 6-episode runs on TV shows when I was looking at her IMDb.
Well, it was like she was on Murder She Wrote, but as like 6 different characters, and Law and Order 5 different times and stuff.
I think Linda Holmes was looking at it, and she was on like every Law and Order.
Like all of them?
She was on Law and
Order. Is that the new EGOT?
We need Law and Order and SVU, and I think she was on Criminal Intent. Yeah.
So we watched Play Misty For Me.
Nobody asked you to wait for it.
You're not jumping me, Buster Blue Eyes.
Get off my back, Evelyn.
Play Misty For Me.
Get off my back.
Play Misty For Me.
Get off my back.
Play Misty For Me.
Get off my back.
So you were apprehensive.
I don't like movies from the 1970s.
And I knew that, but I was sort of like, well, surely this is different.
It's not different.
It wasn't.
Look, I like movies from so many decades. Every single movie I've seen from the 1970s, I don't care for it. I don't like it at all.
So I thoroughly enjoyed the experience of watching this.
Sure, it was great.
I'm very glad I've seen it. I am pleased to have filled in the gaps in that part of because it's like a 3 or a 4 for me, where it's like if even the subject of like 70s films comes up, I can now be like, I got one in the back pocket. Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood directed.
Directorial debuts. Obviously Jessica Walter. That it was bizarre.
Well, it's like Misery adjacent.
Yeah.
Because Will and I actually just recently watched Misery for the first time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. it's a psychological thriller, they claim.
That is marginal at best.
Yeah, well, it's pretty straightforward
She's a lunatic.
Yeah, and you get that almost immediately. Like, I was waiting for there to be more cat and mouse.
No.
And it's like she confesses that she entrapped him, like, first.
Yeah, well, it's,
Like,
I mean...
They get to his house, and she's like, I was stalking you.
Well, yeah. That's like, that is almost immediate.
They didn't... Was that not a thing? The word stalking was not used once in the movie.
I'm not... I mean, I know it was definitely a thing in the 70s, but it might not have been... They just might not have said it in the movie.
Which leads me to believe that that wasn't really a thing.
No, it had to have been.
I mean, I know the concept of following someone around, but I think, like, things can be trendy. Or like,
sure. I get that.
Like, kidnapping kids in the 80s, that was a big cultural thing.
Yeah.
Clowns in the woods in the 2010s. You go through themes with stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Like serial killers and this. Well, that was
the 70s, too.
Yeah. No, they never said the word stalker, and I also didn't understand what the lack of urgency among any of the characters.
Yeah, that was a real weird thing to me too, where it's just like, in the first place, you're right. He takes her home the first night. And we are already by that point, I mean, that's like 10 minutes in, and we've already established that he's like a playboy. So
in case people don't know, we're doing a terrible job. It's Clint Eastwood's directorial debut.
And he's in it.
He stars in it. He plays Dave something. He's a disc jockey in Monterey. I gather in the 70s that was a slightly bigger deal. I think local celebrities was a bit more of a thing when you didn't have the internet and cable news and all that. And so the
it also was like a human person playing music for like 5-hour blocks. That's like a lot rarer now.
I mean, we still have it, but then again, it's satellite radio and it's fucking YouTube stars and like Carson Daly and stuff coming in to do it. But
I mean, be nice to Carson Daly.
I like Carson Daly.
He's fine.
But so the implication is that he's kind of a local celebrity. He's got a swinging pad.
Yeah.
The movie baffled us many ways over. We should have had Will come in for this.
Yeah, but to explain his apartment or his house.
Because Will was like, was there like a surplus of shit in the 70s where people just like, oh, I better take this stuff back to my house and put it somewhere.
And display it. He had a penny farthing behind his couch. I like don't understand. And just like a couple of like nude-ish sculptures and then like a giant photoreal drawing of a pig.
Of a hog.
But just the face of it. And
and part of his house was outside. And I mean, at one point I did clearly identify sliding glass doors.
It's like mid-California, so I think it's the type of, and he's like on the coast, so I think it's one of those type of houses that you can like leave partially open most of the time.
Do you want
stalkers?
Because that's how you get
stalkers.
And it doesn't even matter by that point because she makes herself a key when she steals his car for the day.
He does attempt to like let her down. I mean, he tries to break up with her several times,
and she is not having it.
She was a real give an inch, take a mile.
Sure, yeah.
And he always had an inch to give her. He always had an inch to spare.
Just the 1 inch. No, that is the thing where he was like, okay, we can't see each other anymore. And then he was like, but we'll still have sex tonight. So he just kept having sex with her. And I was like...
That's apparently another thing in the 70s. Women went to the grocery store and cooked dinner for men. She stayed carrying brown bags of groceries with like...
She just like showed up at his house. Like, how do you know where he lives?
Well, she stalked him.
Well, yeah, I know. But that's like... He just let all that stuff go too easy, where I would have been like, how do you know where I live?
Well, he's Clint Eastwood, and she's like a pretty lady. The hair.
The hair is just so bad.
Terrible.
Real
I
bad.
am on the record.
You love bad hair.
Liking bad hair, and there was not a haircut in this. Also weirdly littered with day players.
Yeah.
Like, what was JJ's deal? I wanted him to come back. He was this old queen.
Yeah. From Sausalito.
Oh, well, it's nothing personal, really. It's just that I happen to think she could be a first-rate artist if her damned hormones didn't keep getting in the way.
There's not much he can do about that.
He could kill himself.
JJ, why don't you go cruise some sailors, huh?
Oh, please, don't mention seafood.
And, like, the rapport that he had with everybody. And I was like...
His rapport with Dave was even not necessarily flirty, but it was something.
Google trade.
That is what Clint Eastwood is. Well, and then Clint Eastwood and the cop had such a weird fucking chemistry. Like, I was just expecting them to bone.
Well, I made the joke that I was like, I'd like to see it.
Oh, there's one other thing.
I know. Don't leave town.
Well, I was going to say, why don't you play some Mantovani sometime?
Didn't know you liked the show, Sergeant.
I don't. I like Mantovani.
The cop was a handsome older man, but he was such a jerk. I could not fathom what was happening. She breaks into his house and goes to town with a
knife or scissors or something.
It's a knife. It's like the length of a machete, but the width of like a tomato, like a serrated.
Knife?
Yeah, I have no idea. I was not a fan of Birdie's plot.
No, God. Oh, God. Birdie seemed like a good time in the first place.
It sat wrong with me several ways over, and she survived and was lively enough to make a joke.
Yeah, about cleaning his house.
It's gonna cost you double to clean up this mess.
After it looked like she was hacking at her.
Yeah, she stabbed her a lot and all over.
And it wasn't like point. It was like,
yeah, she was like this. Yeah, hacking at her.
Hacking
like
at
a machete.
Her. Yeah. And Birdie was like, "You're gonna have to pay me double to clean this mess up." Being wheeled out on the stretcher, and the cop was just like, "All right, buddy. So what you want? What you expect me to believe?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're at the crime scene. Deduce it yourself. Like, I don't know. It was really bizarre. And I did like them. Like I said, I enjoyed the movie enough. I am very glad that I saw it. I do hope to see several more and then sort of to be done. Like several more of these types of movies. Jessica was great in it. She was
really
probably good. She probably was the best part.
So that's my thing, is that's why I dislike 70s movies the most, is I don't find the acting realistic at all. And so, but she did the best job in this movie. This was her movie to shine.
Yeah.
Even Clint Eastwood I was like, were you filming Dirty Harry in between? Because you just sound like a fool.
Donna Mills. It was whatever they were doing. It was the weirdest thing. And I think this is another one of the 70s thing. But Will had a theory that Donna Mills was Toby. Tobie.
What's that even short for?
I was like, Tobias. I don't know. Tobiatha. Will was like, what is she, a wizard? Because they were having one conversation.
Yeah.
But they were like teleporting.
How's that redhead?
What?
The redhead, the one who worked in the bookstore.
She went back to Berkeley or whatever.
Oh, that's too bad.
Not even just like, it was like climates were changing.
It was like the house and then the woods and then the beach and then
but it was like
the
cliffside, but then sand from it, like it was different. And they always had to, anytime that we picked up Toby, we had to like teleport to like a field somewhere.
Yeah.
And then there's like this extended scene in the middle of the movie when they, for whatever reason, he thinks that Evelyn's been taken care of, where they travel to the forest moon of Endor. And he just sort of, well, and the sex scene, because they're not having sex, they're just sort of naked, pressing bodies together and going like this.
Yeah. Well, it was like the kissing. You guys were like,
It was really weird.
What's bizarre is it's not even Hays Code shit. So it's like, why are you kissing so horribly?
Well, and also he like seemed like he really wanted to strip down, but then didn't. And I was just like, I don't know, Clint Eastwood, whip it out. Like,
and then the Forest Moon of Endor was an excellent thing, because it also was. It reminded me of the forest in Twilight when he first tells her he's a vampire. Because
I was waiting for Tom Cruise to show up, legend, like ride through with a unicorn. I was like, where the fuck are they?
Mid-California, mid-Southern California.
And it was, I mean, the entire song played. It was
okay, it was like 5+ minutes of weird groping in multiple locations, because at one point they were like in in like a forest pool, like a brook or something.
Like where Tarzan washes Tarzan teaches Jane to wash her hair. Yeah.
And then they were in the forest, and then
all the while the first time I ever saw your face, the entire song.
And then there's like a 10 full minute segment of this much referenced jazz festival in Monterey, which was like cool, I guess, but also I was like, when is this jazz festival in Monterey going to be over?
It was groovy, man.
That's the thing where it's like, if this movie were made today, it would be even worse. But if this movie were made today, we wouldn't have it would be 15 minutes shorter because those things would be removed. And I just it's one of those things where I wonder if Clint Eastwood ever is like, I should re-edit, go play Misty for me.
Well, I mean, you can't answer this, but that's not going to stop me from asking you. Was that character development? Was he like, this is investing the audience? Festival? Well, particularly them banging in the woods. But he was like, is this...
How is that character
investing the audience in this...
love story?
This relationship.
I mean,
because that did feel 70s. Because I think like just sort of the 60s was very free love. And the 70s was, I don't know, just sort of like getting it in and some nature. That does feel kind of like what was happening around the time.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, even the Muppets, I think in the Muppet movie, aren't they like on a boat in a lake kissing? Yeah,
I think so.
But no, it was fun. I don't like blood in 70s films. Will was spot on. Well, the first one it was ketchupy, like you said, but the second time it was like candle wax. It was I wasn't a fan. And this is a weird tribute episode that we're doing because it's like we're not being very reverent.
She was great. I mean, it's hard to be reverent for someone who had such irreverence.
This is also not necessarily a tribute. It's like it's a reason to talk about her work and her catalog and stuff.
Again, she was excellent in this movie. She's totally unhinged, like 100% unhinged.
And she was a babe.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what was the line where they were fighting in the street? Was she naked the whole time? Because she was wearing the same jacket.
Under the coat, maybe. Maybe.
I think she was naked.
That's amazing.
When she screams, "Yeah, get lost, assholes!
Get lost!
Yeah, get lost, assholes!"
Yeah, let's split. He's got enough trouble already.
Yeah, excuse me.
It was she unhinged a handful of times. Oh, well, yeah, when she went to attack him with Madge Brenner. At the restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
And he manhandled her all the way out.
Like a literal elderly woman with white hair that he's having a legitimate business meeting about a new radio show with. And she's just like, "Oh, is this your business lunch?" And she calls her a whore.
Is this your whore?
Yeah.
She could get laid in a lumber camp!
It was like, whoa.
She spared the moisture.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I mean, it came to a climax. I like her method. She had a very attack and retreat method.
Yeah. She was like, step, run away. Step, run away.
He was plussed.
Yeah.
He was, I looked up the word. It sounds like it'd be the opposite. It sounds like he'd be nonplussed. But he was very plussed about the whole thing.
Very even keeled is what that means.
Very steady.
He was just like, I'm going to keep going towards her while she stabs
I mean, it was the 70s.
Away.
He was probably like 4 whiskeys deep. But and then he finally gets like his bearings and just like straight socks her right in the face. And like an anime movie, she just goes like flying out the window over the banister. And then like a Looney Tune, like ga-dunk, 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 ga-dunk.
Off the cliff. Yeah.
I think Will laughed for 5 minutes. It
was so funny because both of you, him especially, were like, wow, there are lots of like really sweeping shots of this cliffside vista. And I just, because I had seen this when I was young, and that was like one of the only parts I remembered.
Weird instinct on your mom's part to be like, look, young Kristen, come watch this.
She didn't do that. It just, she was watching it and I was also there. She wasn't like, I think you'll like this movie.
My mom would have scurried me away.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, and so
and
she's just on the cliff.
The entire movie goes, and they don't play Misty.
They play some of the they play some of the instrumental stuff because he's like, Is
that a thing that happened in the 70s?
I don't think so. I think it was for the movie because he literally is a DJ and he's like, it's not unusual. And then there is a 5-minute scene in the studio where we can hear what is playing on the radio, and it is an instrumental version of It's Not Unusual. I was like, what? I don't think that was a thing from the 70s. I would be furious if that was happening.
So yeah, Toby survived. I guess I didn't give two shits about Toby.
No, it's whatever. His like actual, because
I liked Angelica, and I was like, what a weird use of a character. Yeah, there were characters littered through this movie.
Well, he also just like he really wants Toby back, and she's been in Sausalito for a really long 4 months, and I was just like, 4 months is really not that much time, and I can't imagine it passing quickly in Sausalito, but it was so bizarre because he just kept on seeing. Oh, what the hell even was her name? I totally forgot. Just
Evelyn.
Evelyn. He just kept seeing Evelyn while he's like trying to win back Toby. I don't know. I was like not invested in either relationship because it didn't seem like he actually wanted either of them from his actions.
I mean, who needs a solid when you could just go down to the sardine factory and pick up another one?
Sardine factory.
You know what? It was fun.
It was definitely fun.
Yeah,
we definitely had fun watching.
I'm glad to have seen it, and I'll be on the lookout if any more rear their head.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that, like I said, I'm back to be feeling self-conscious. Not really. This isn't meant to be, like I said, a reverent tribute.
Yeah.
But I just figured it was as good a reason as any.
I mean, she's not somebody whose entire career we've followed.
Yeah,
so it's like, yeah.
I'm so glad and grateful for the boon, like I said, later in her career, the comedy. I mean, there were so many tweets, and I saw one several times where someone was like, first of all, apparently she was like a one-take wonder.
Oh, God, that's
like,
amazing.
Also, oh, yeah.
I love that.
Like, if she couldn't get a laugh, it's because it wasn't funny.
Oh,
like,
okay.
it was the script, not her.
Yeah.
And it just, I was really, like I said, I think her legacy, that's going to be fascinating. And that's a fascinating part for me growing up, is getting to experience the shifting of sands.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And getting to see, because like I said, I don't think several of these jokes are going to go anywhere. I mean,
no.
The word meme is new, but the concept of an inside joke is not. So I think a lot of this stuff is going to be with us for the long haul.
I agree.
And
for sure.
Like, people are going to make the joke about Star Wars.
Yeah.
And
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The always money in the banana stand, the one banana, what could it cost? So I'm very, very curious and excited to see a new generation discover.
Yeah, for sure. Me too.
Discover this wealth of talent. So
yeah. Well, if we convince you to watch Play Misty For Me, it's for rent on Amazon for $3.99. Otherwise, Arrested Development, I want to say, is on Hulu or Netflix. It must be on Netflix now. So, and Archer is on. I can watch it on Hulu.
Yeah, I think it's on Hulu.
Hulu. Okay. I don't know. My Hulu cable gets me special stuff sometimes. So it's like FX on Hulu, I think. So. So check out Jessica Walter and go to her IMDb and just, point your finger at something. She's probably great in it. So other than that, you can follow us on Twitter at @SoI'mWatching or Instagram at @SoI'mWatchingThisShow. We also have a website, soimwatching.com, which links out to everything, including the YouTube and the Patreon and anything, the book, Fairy Tale.
We need to start doing a better job of hawking that.
Buy the book. It's excellent. And then other than that, just rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or YouTube or wherever you listen. And that's it for us.